but now he just flat out turned heel. So actually, I called it all. Raquel Rodriguez.
That's gotta be Rodriguez.
That's gotta be Rodriguez.
Reading McIntyre's lips, it looked like he said he was gonna Punk in the ass. And then you started laughing. And then I started laughing.
I thought blood vessels in your head were gonna burst when Goldberg jumped that barricade.
Stupid girl ref just decides to pick up Tiffany's briefcase. As soon as Tiffany turns around, Jax does an Undertaker sit up.
The bottom part of the table is like hanging down, basically creating a spike type situation.
Balor came out with a gimp mask as usual. Priest's hair looks stupid. Judgment Day tried to help.
Fair enough. Did you hear that massive crowd reaction when she re-debuted and helped? There wasn't one. That's a joke.
He did that thing. My parents love me. I'm special. Then he comes out. He's doing the Santino.
The only thing I would say is I said it was a Kane sit-up. I was like, is Gage about to spear the world champion?
Oh, jeez. That would have been the end of the show. So we go to Atlanta, Georgia for Bad Blood. And I love the Criminal Minds opening with the little stills and shit. Wasn't too sure about the mini movie. So apparently Triple H wanted Cody Rhodes to stake out the arena well before the event. And should he need help watching the arena, he should text Roman. And then it cuts to Cody just sitting in a car with some black dude until the day of Bad Blood.
It was Metro Boomin. I don't know who that is, but that was the name. Because there was also Amigo, and there was Da Baby.
I know Da Baby. I've never heard of the other guy, ever.
Metro Boomin?
Yeah.
I haven't either. That's what I'm saying. Am I this far out of the loop that I don't know any of these people?
Da Baby had a really good song. I'll send it to you. So Triple H walks. He's shown walking. It said he has an historic announcement. And it shows Cody officially getting to the arena with the black dude. The Triple Bs are hosting Bad Blood for some reason. I assume they just introduced the match because I skipped whatever they said.
Pretty much. They welcomed everybody to the show and then started out with our first match, Hell in a Cell.
Which is bullshit that this was the curtain jerker.
Well, you saw the ending.
We'll get there. So Corey Graves referenced a CM Punk AEW promo, which I thought was interesting. I got to be a monster to be the monster of the world or something like that. That's an Earth Crisis song.
I never heard of it. I do know the quote that he said, but yeah, I didn't know it came from a song.
So it starts off with both men taking a long look at each other. Then they meet in the middle of the ring and start talking shit. Reading McIntyre's lips, it looked like he said he was going to fuck Punk in the ass. And then you started laughing. And then I started laughing. So they started trading punches. McIntyre uses his strength. Punk uses his speed. Then they just start strangling each other. McIntyre gets Punk in the corner and just beats the fuck out of him. Tosses him out of the ring. And he ends up hitting the cell. And they fight outside the ring, throwing each other into the unforgiving cell wall. Punk goes under the ring, grabs a table. Then he tosses the table in the ring, grabs a chair. Goes to wallop McIntyre with the chair, but McIntyre blocks it with a kick to the gut. And he picks up the chair and cracks Punk with it. And he throws him into the steel steps so McIntyre can stand and stomp on Punk's skull. McIntyre goes under the ring and grabs a toolbox. He tries to take Punk out with a wrench, but Punk's able to duck. Punk picks up the wrench and starts carving it into McIntyre's face. Punk gets McIntyre back in the ring. McIntyre is able to recover enough to chop Punk in the throat. Then it looks like he's setting up the table, but instead rips off the table leg. And he goes after Punk with it. Punk's able to get his foot up at the last second. McIntyre charges Punk, and Punk drop toe holds McIntyre Adam's apple first into the table, and just so happens to be standing on its edge. Then Punk grabs the table leg, chokes McIntyre with it while delivering a series of punches. And he slams McIntyre back first into the table a couple times with the leg side up. Then he props the table leg up, and then he tries to drive McIntyre's eye into the table leg. And shit just got real.
I mean, it got real for me when he had the table part that broke off.
Yeah.
This being CM Punk, and he takes it, the bottom part of the table is like hanging down, basically creating a spike type situation. And then he like drives it down and then chokes McIntyre. Like he could have really he did some damage there. And it looked like that's what he was trying to do too.
For some reason, the eye spot, that was when I started leaning in. So McIntyre escapes Punk and flees to the floor. Punk follows and tries to hit a GTS. McIntyre escapes again and hits a Claymore. Then he picks Punk up and throws him face first into the cell, and that draws first blood. McIntyre grabs the steel steps and clobbers Punk in the head. And how is that any different than a chair shot?
I don't know.
Okay. McIntyre gets Punk on the steps again and stomps on his head, then grabs his face and snarls, I told you, you're going to bleed, and I'm going to end your career, and your wife's going to leave you. McIntyre gets Punk back in the ring, grabs a wrench, and stabs Punk's open wound with it. He goes outside the ring again and sets up a table on the floor. Might be the first time he got cheered, by the way. Stupid seals. McIntyre picks Punk up with the intent to toss him onto the floor through the table like a javelin. Then Punk escapes and hits a shining wizard. Punk goes for his bulldog. McIntyre blocks it and almost dumps Punk onto the floor. Punk fights through it and lands on the apron, gets on the top rope, nails McIntyre with a double axe handle. And he grabs a wrench and climbs on the top rope with the intent to crack McIntyre in the face with it. McIntyre blocks it and hits a belly-to-belly suplex. Then McIntyre kips up, signals for a claymore. Punk just rolls out of the ring. McIntyre goes to snatch Punk and he gets smacked in the face with a toolbox. Now it's McIntyre's turn to bleed. And bleed he fucking did.
Yeah, so says the reports. He legitimately got busted open and it needed like 19 stitches.
Jesus Christ. So he did it the hard way.
Yeah. I would imagine that he was going to bleed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that one was legit. That's why he was like, during the match, he's still like gushing out.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it gushed immediately. Normally it builds up to that.
Yeah.
But no, he got cracked in the head and then just whoosh. I've never seen a referee wipe off a wrestler's head before.
Yeah, and the fans started booing.
Yeah. How dare you protect him?
Yeah.
Although, I mean, that would be a referee's job. Not necessarily wipe the blood off his face, but you could at least hand him a towel. Make sure he's okay.
It seemed like McIntyre didn't want to address it. Because there was one point I heard the refs like, I gotta wipe your face off. And then McIntyre took the towel and wiped it himself. So I think it was just more McIntyre just wanted to keep going until they were like, get his damn face. Too much.
Well, Punk picks up the toolbox and climbs the top rope. Then he drops the toolbox. Then he climbs down the top rope to retrieve the toolbox and cracks McIntyre in the head with it again. Then he goes back to the top rope a second time, and he successfully nails McIntyre with the toolbox again. Punk does 3 Shining Wizards and a Bulldog. Then he signals for the GTS. And he sets McIntyre up. McIntyre escapes, tries to deck Punk with a clothesline. Punk hooks McIntyre around and lifts him up for the GTS. And after that, McIntyre just rolls out of the ring. Well, Punk gets up, follows, and he tosses McIntyre back in the ring, who hits Punk with a claymore, or as soon as he follows McIntyre back in. And then we get our first pin attempt, and Punk nearly kicks out at 2. And McIntyre picks up a wrench. He thinks twice about it, goes for another claymore. Punk hits the old step back maneuver and locks in a sharpshooter. McIntyre grabs a wrench and starts beating on Punk with it to break the hold. Then he stabs Punk with the wrench again. Both men get to their feet, exhausted, and start trading punches. McIntyre goes for a future shock. Punk escapes and goes for a GTS. McIntyre escapes and starts chopping Punk. Punk kicks McIntyre in the head. Both men just collapse in heaps. Then they get on the apron. Punk does a Shining Wizard and tries to suplex McIntyre on the floor. McIntyre overpowers Punk and suplexes Punk through the table he set up earlier. Then he picks up the steel steps and spends a long-ass time getting him into the ring. He was playing that his back was hurt. It may have been hurt, I don't know. Then he sets up Punk to do something on the steel steps, but Punk hits the GTS and makes the cover. McIntyre kicks out at like 2.5. And Punk picks McIntyre up, and McIntyre ends up grabbing Punk and delivers a white noise on the steel steps. And somehow, Punk kicked out of that. McIntyre gets to his feet with a murderous look on his face. Punk gets on his hands and knees while McIntyre just looks down at him. And he picks Punk up to do something, and Punk turns it into an anaconda vice. Like, he had him in a follow-away slam position. He was doing some tilt-a-whirl thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But it didn't matter. He's in the anaconda vice. McIntyre grabs a wrench, again, to break the hold. Punk catches it and just starts beating McIntyre in the head with it. Then McIntyre starts begging. Punk goes to finish him with the wrench. McIntyre just hits him right in the balls. And then McIntyre leaves the ring, grabs a bag, walks over to Punk, blood pouring down his face. Punk weakly looks up. McIntyre flips over the bag, and bracelet beads pour all over Punk. Gay!
Call back to the bead part of the feud.
I wonder if that stupid Twitter bitch was all pissed off at that. They didn't ask me for my permission.
Well, she had her right.
They
She
used
had
my
a right to be upset if
they
she
used my
were.
beats in the cell match. They didn't ask me for my permission. Triple H should have called me personally. Whore.
I wonder what she's gonna do now that the feud's over. Go back to irrelevancy, I guess. No more feud.
Good riddance. And on top of that, Punk doesn't have her stupid bracelet anymore.
Nope.
So ha.
There was something about Punk. Maybe I think Punk made her a bracelet or something.
Well, McIntyre goes for a Claymore. Punk dodges. McIntyre lands on the steel steps. Back first. Punk grabs a chain, wraps it around his knee, then grabs a handful of the beads, shoves them down McIntyre's throat. Punk hits the GTS with the chain knee. 1, 2, 3. Punk stumbles out of the cell, slams the door shut behind him, and then collapses in the aisle. And he ended up getting oxygen and shit too. Then he said, I gotta call my wife. A+ match. Just wish they fought outside the cell. And I love how there were no winners in this match. Yeah, Punk got the pin, but he did not look like a winner.
Yeah, they definitely sold the fact that they just went through hell. So yeah, I gave it. I don't want to say like a 5-star because you'd have to reserve a 5-star for like, or at least for me. You know, if you're in the 5-star category, then you have to really do something special. But I did put this as like, I would say like 4.5-star. Definitely like a candidate for match of the year.
Well, I'm not going to do anything silly like star ratings or anything, but I will say this was the match of the night.
Definitely match of the year candidate.
Well, I don't know about your feed, but the Firefly Funhouse started playing on mine. I honestly thought that the Sucks were doing the Funhouse. But no, The Fiend is actually going to be in WWE 2K24.
Yes. He is coming as a DLC because, you know, they send you half games and then you get the DLC that you have to pay for.
You have to pay for them to fix it.
And if you have PlayStation Plus, you can get WWE 2K24 for free. Now, I don't know about the DLC. You still have to pay for that, but you get the game for free. So then maybe you can just buy that DLC if you want. There is a bigger thing that we own nothing. You can get your Netflix. You can watch all your movies. Or you get the HBO Max. You get the Peacock. But if we need to tweak history, we're going to do that. And then you won't be able to remember it.
That's why I buy physical copies.
Yeah, that's why to buy physical copies. If I got it, you can't change it.
Yep. Well, then they announce Jacqueline, Lillian Garcia, and Booker T. Jacqueline was almost unrecognizable.
Yeah, she's old.
And then the Triple Bs had another segment. DDP was there.
They were having some backstage party.
Good for them.
Or something.
Then we had Bayley versus Nia Jax for whatever women's title Nia has. And Nia used her fat. Bayley tried to capitalize on Jax's mistakes. Jax ended up falling on top of the girl referee. Bayley hit a Rose plan after a pop-up stunner. Has she done a pop-up stunner before?
I don't know.
Okay. Bayley goes to pin Nia, but the ref is out. Stratton comes out with her briefcase and cracks Bayley in the head with it. Stratton revives the girl ref. The stupid girl ref just decides to pick up Tiffany's briefcase. Tiffany turns around to get her briefcase back. As soon as Tiffany turns around, Jax does an Undertaker sit-up. Jax gets in Stratton's face. Bayley hits Jax from behind with a roll-up. Bayley goes to the top rope. Stratton tosses her briefcase at her, causing a distraction. Jax hits a Samoan drop from the top rope, then hits the Banzai drop. 1, 2, 3.
Yep. The only thing I would say is I said it was a Kane sit-up because she was wearing all red.
Fair enough.
And I didn't put it together until that sit-up happened. Like, you know, I wasn't paying attention. Then she sat up and she's like, oh, and she's wearing red. And this is when Kane debuted. So, maybe. But it was funny that she did the sit-up. Yeah, we teased the cash-in again for Tiffany Stratton. I guess we're getting close to that. And we correctly said that it wasn't going to happen.
We did. Well, Xavier Woods, who wants to be taken more seriously, did a Dragon Ball Z promotion.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z sides shock slide. I don't know.
Yeah.
Budokai Tenkaichi game. I don't know. The Dragon Ball Z fighting games just don't connect with me.
Well, then they introduced Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. They just waved.
Brain Busters. Which was kind of news to me because I thought Tully Blanchard was still with AEW.
He left a while ago.
Oh. Yeah, I was surprised.
And then we get Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Priest won with the South of Heaven. Balor came out with a gimp mask as usual. Priest's hair looked stupid. Judgment Day tried to help.
Fair enough. The match just kind of was there. So with Hell in the Cell opening, you knew, first of all, whoever was going after. And I actually think it was the perfect spot to put Nia Jax versus Bayley because good luck following that match.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew it was going to be a dead spot. And that was probably the weakest match on the card. The only thing that could have probably saved it was a cash in, and they didn't get that. So, after it was over, it was just like, as good as it was there. I guess you got to give the crowd time to get back into it after such an emotional match. So this match was also just like there.
Well, after that, Triple H comes out, and then he references his time in WCW. He said he was a real terrorizer. Then he does the attendance, then pimps Crown Jewel. Then Triple H says WWE will make history by hosting an annual event at Crown Jewel. Both the men and women's champions will face each other in non-title matches. And it's for the right to carry the ugliest fucking belt I've ever seen in my life.
I was okay with it. It's huge.
It's huge. It's green and gold. Just, ugh.
Doesn't quite match. But aside from the sheer size of it, I was okay with it.
I don't like the design. I don't like the shape. It looks like fucking Byzantium or some shit that you would get off a Home Shopping Network.
Well, I think they put the whole castle thing of Riyadh on it. Well, I know they did. And then I also have questions like, are we just seeing it there, or are they going to walk around with two belts carrying that thing for a year? Is it going to be defended every year? So many questions.
Well, before we answer those questions, Gunther comes out. He says, what would Bad Blood be without the World Heavyweight Champion? He says the last time he was in Saudi Arabia, Triple H handed him a crown. So he looks forward to Triple H handing him the god-awful crown jewel belt. Gunther says, first he has to beat Sammy. Then he turns to Triple H and says, let's be honest, he'll never be a top guy. He says as a future legend, he wants to address the legends in attendance. Then he addresses Bill Goldberg. Says he wants to clarify something now that they're face to face. Says, you may have seen a couple weeks ago when I said you were my childhood hero. That's not true. Gunther asks how the greatest wrestler on God's green earth can be impressed by a one-trick pony such as Goldberg. Gunther says, I'm just busting balls. But to your son, I hope Bill's a better dad than a professional wrestler. Goldberg gets pissed and jumps the guardrail. And then security corralled Goldberg. And then Sammy attacks Gunther from behind. I think they're making Gunther into turning him into a fucking joke, man. He did that thing. My parents love me. I'm special. Then he comes out. He's fucking doing the Santino shit with the legends.
Or Heath Slater.
He
is running down legends. But I thought blood vessels in your head were going to burst when Goldberg jumped that barricade.
That would have bursted.
Okay.
If Gunther had to sell to him.
Well, at first I was like, are we really? And then I was like, wait a minute. I might want to see this. I might want to see it. I want to see Goldberg versus Gunther. That's about the length of match it should be, but I don't know. Maybe I want to see it. Now, it doesn't do good for Gunther to be in that much shit, I'll be honest. But, Goldberg, you got the music. He comes out there, spears Gunther, maybe gives him a jackhammer, and then Gunther can take control and win the match as he should. But maybe I want to see it.
Better yet, Goldberg would go for a spear. Gunther counters it with a T-Rex drop kick and chokes Goldberg out. Or in this segment, I would have had Goldberg actually get in the ring, go for a spear. Gunther kicks Goldberg in the face, so he's down. And a little Chance or Sebastian or whatever the fuck his kid's name is.
Gage.
He would get in Gunther's face and try to do something, and Gunther would kick him in the face too. And then Sammy can come out.
I did halfway expect when Goldberg, he jumped the barricade and all the security guards are like with him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, is Gage about to spear the world champion?
Oh, jeez. That would have been the end of the show.
I don't know, but maybe we follow that up.
With what?
I don't know, Gage He's got the look. Now he's a football player, Colorado right now, so he's got to finish that out. Maybe we get a little bit of Goldberg Jr. Maybe it happens.
Let's hope not. Well, the Triple B's had another segment. Apparently, Chelsea Green still stinks. Yep. Wasn't she like going after whatever title she was going after? How are you going to go from a title contender to stinking? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, look what they did to Piggy Niven. She's like the female Great Khali.
What about her tube top thing?
What about it?
She was rocking that thing. She was there large and in charge.
She looked like a bunch of mayonnaise packed into a Ziploc bag.
She was like, I ain't got no body dysmorphia.
Fair enough. Well, good deal. I've stalled long enough for useless Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley with Dominic in a cage. So Ripley came out. She made a stupid face on the cage. And then Dominic gets out. He gets put in the cage. He's raised in the air because he's afraid of heights. Then the girls had a match. Dominic picks the cage lock, and then he falls off the cage and gets hung up on a chain. Ripley grabs a kendo stick and beats the shit out of Dominic. Then No Definition Rodriguez returns with her tiny titties. She turns on Ripley for the DQ, and then the dumb bitch pulled Morgan on top of Ripley even though the bell rang already. And I guess maybe No Definition is part of the Judgment Day now or something. I didn't care.
I don't know. I guess she's going to be the muscle for Liv Morgan, or maybe she's just like, it was a one-off thing. I don't know. But
yeah.
Did you hear that massive crowd reaction when she re-debuted and helped? There wasn't one. That's a joke.
Oh. I was going to say, I was too busy fast forwarding to really notice.
Yeah, there absolutely was no pop. Unfortunate. And it kind of seemed like they, I wouldn't say botched, but something did seem off with it. So first of all, we have Dominic, the cage door open, but he's still 15 feet or whatever in the air. So, what are you going to do there? And then we pull this spot where Dom falls out of the cage, but there's a chain around his leg, which stops him from killing himself or hurting himself. I wouldn't say kill. That wasn't kill distance, but it definitely would have hurt.
He could land on his neck.
Well, yeah. So then, and then we get Rhea Ripley. She sees this. She's already given Liv Morgan a riptide. She sees Dom hanging there. She pulls out a kendo stick, so we have a pinata setup going. The referees come out, and through all the referees coming out, that's when Rodriguez hits Rhea Ripley. So you couldn't even tell like it was her. I don't know. It looked like one of the security guards hit Ripley in the crowd. And then, and then it's like, oh, that's Raquel Rodriguez.
That's gotta be Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's gotta be Rodriguez. And then she throws Rhea into the ring. She hits a Tiana bomb. She puts Liv Morgan. Now, the ref's called for the bell at this point. She puts Liv Morgan on top of Rhea Ripley for the pin and realizes, oh, the ref called for the match, so there's no match anymore. So then she just picks up Liv Morgan. It was all weird. And no pop. But maybe something will happen from it. If she's going to be close to Dom, he can get people over. So he's got the Midas touch, that Dom. So if she's going to be working with him, it'll work out for her in the long run.
Okay.
But we're off to a bad start.
Well, anything with No Definition Rodriguez is usually pretty bad.
Fair enough.
Well, finally, we got the Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And Cody had a stupid marching band play him to the ring, along with his regular theme. Of course, it was from a black college. That wasn't why they were stupid.
Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yes, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Roman had an orchestra play him out. It was a lot better.
It's like, I ain't gonna let you out play me, boy.
Well, it starts off with Solo holding up the necklace. Then Cody and Fatu kick it off. And then they don't really do anything. Then Solo yells at Fatu, and he wants to be tagged in. After some unnecessary dramatics, Cody tags in Roman. The way he turned his head and then held his hand up and then finally did it was just so weird.
That's just getting the crowd behind it.
Yeah, but it wasn't natural. There's ways to do it where it looks more natural. So Roman whips Solo's ass, does the 10 punches, then dumps it out of the ring. Fatu gets in the ring, distracts Roman. Solo ends up attacking him from behind. Then they double team Roman for a little bit. Fatu gets tagged in, beats the shit out of Roman until he dives in the ring post and gets tossed out of the ring. Cody gets in, does his highlights to Fatu, then goes for the crossroads. Solo distracts him. Fatu hits a Samoan drop, a pop-up Samoan drop. Then Fatu tosses Cody out of the ring, tags in Solo. Solo rock bottoms Cody on the apron. And Fatu and Solo take turns beating the shit out of Cody, keeping him from his team's corner. Finally, Cody's able to block a swanton from Fatu and get the hot tag. Fatu makes it to his corner for the tag as well, and Roman just beats the fuck out of Solo and then goes for a Superman punch. Solo blocks it, goes for a spike. Roman counters with a crucifix pin. Solo's able to kick out of that. Then Roman hits the Superman punch as soon as Solo gets to his feet. Roman goes for a spear. Fatu grabs Roman. And Fatu and Solo do a double super kick to Roman. And Fatu hits Roman with a moonsault. Solo hits Roman with a splash. And then Cody made the save. And then he fights with Fatu on the floor. Fatu goes through the barricade, then gets hit with a crossroads on the floor. Then Cody splashes Fatu through the announce desk from the top rope. And that's the last we see of him for a while. In the ring, Solo and Roman trade punches. Roman ultimately hits a Superman punch and goes for a spear, but the Tongans come out and cause a distraction. So Solo spears Roman. Roman kicked out. Solo starts screaming, then notices a guy with his face covered standing between the Tongans. Turns out it's Jimmy Uso. He super kicks the Tongans because they're useless. Roman recovers, spears the distracted Solo. 1, 2, 3. Jimmy and Roman hug after the match, even though Jimmy was still part of the bloodline. So I'm not sure why them hugging is a big deal.
What? He got kicked out of the bloodline.
He got kicked out by Solo. He didn't get kicked out by Roman. Remember,
Well,
he got
the bloodline.
He turned on Roman, but then he turned on Jay, came back. He was still part of the bloodline. And the reason why he was out is because Solo attacked him because of losing. It was after WrestleMania. He and Roman were still aligned. So them embracing like their long lost rivals or something like that, no. If they did that with Jay, that would make sense. But this, it's not that big of a moment.
Well, Jimmy also acknowledged Solo when Roman was gone.
I don't think Solo gave him a chance.
Remember he went down the line and had everybody acknowledge? No, that was afterwards.
Yeah, that was after. Because remember, it was the Raw right after WrestleMania, or SmackDown, where he asked Heyman, we don't tolerate losing, right? And then he took out Jimmy. That was his first thing he did. And then he assumed role of the tribal chief. That's when he started bringing in the Tongans. So Jimmy and Roman were cool. That's my point. This is not the big moment that they're trying to make it out to be.
It was big.
No, it wasn't.
It was big.
No.
The bloodline thing is in turmoil right now.
Is it?
Yes. There's only one way that it seems like we're going to be able to solve this. Maybe a double ring structure with cage around it.
So the new bloodline can lose another match? Okay.
Well, I thought they were going to win this match so that,
I told you they weren't.
It makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. It would make sense. It would make sense if they fucking won anything, but they just don't win.
True.
So Roman and Cody have a little stare down, then Roman walks off with Jimmy. Then Solo and the Tongans attack Cody from behind. Then Roman and Jimmy come back to help after talking about it for a little bit.
Now remember, this is all after the match, too.
Yes, all after the match. And then The Rock makes his biannual appearance with the made-up title he awarded himself because he's corny.
He didn't award it to himself. Muhammad Ali's whatever gave it to him.
Yeah, he had a title that he had Muhammad Ali's daughter give to him. Yes.
Well, anyway, it looks better than...
It looks nice. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's a vanity title that Rock gave himself.
Well, he is the People's Champ. How can the People's Champ not have a title?
He wasn't the People's Champ at WrestleMania. He got booed. Didn't seem to be the People's Champ the fifth time he made up eating some fucking fast food burger for some reason.
That's because those people are geeks. Like,
Okay.
who remembers that little minute? Well, actually, you have eaten there a couple times. It's The Rock we're talking about.
Why would you lie about
He's
that?
so busy. It's probably he doesn't remember eating there because he's only eaten there 5 times or something.
He only eats there every fucking day.
Yeah, it's not like it's on his route and he stops there every day. They know him by name. That he's got a usual.
I just know that I'm not excited about this at all. So the Bloodline lose again, and The Rock is back to steal the spotlight for no goddamn good reason. He's back so somebody from the new Bloodline can win.
Well, there's so many loops that have been opened.
No,
The new Bloodline.
it was very obvious. They cut to The Rock, and they showed Cody. Then they cut The Rock again, and then they showed Roman, and then they showed The Rock raise his eyebrow, and then he left. So he's clearly not happy.
Yes. Now he cut a promo after the show, so he's already back on the Instagram promo thing. He said he'll explain when he's ready to explain himself why he held up, because he holds up 1, 2, 3 fingers, and then does the throat slash thing. And he said he'll explain himself when he's ready to explain himself. But the 1, 2, 3 fingers was Cody, Roman, and Jimmy, because they were the ones in the ring. I know there were some people who initially said, "Oh, he's like the ringmaster behind this new Bloodline." Is that what it is?
If he is, he's a shitty one, because the Bloodline sucks.
I was gonna say, if that was the case, they should have won that match, and then it'd be a little bit more like, "Oh, he's behind this." Maybe they shouldn't have lost yet. But
I did tell you that Solo was going to get pinned.
True. Well, obviously he was going to get the pin. They ain't going to pin Fatu. By the way, it did seem like Fatu was like the odd man out of this tag team match.
How's that?
Like, you had the big Cody Rhodes, you had the big Roman Reigns. I'd say Solo's probably made himself into like that atmosphere a little bit, but then Jacob Fatu was there. It was like,
you kidding me?
He's not there yet.
He's absolutely there. He runs circles around Solo.
No, well, I'm saying, like, remember when they had like John Cena and The Rock team up, and they faced like The Miz, and it was like, oh, gee, I wonder who's gonna win this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like. It felt like Jacob Fatu wasn't ready for, or I wouldn't say he wasn't ready, because he did perform and all that. Just saying his like presence didn't feel like it belonged there.
I think you're wrong. They're starting to give him more personality.
Yeah, he was saying some stuff to Cody Rhodes. Run that!
Yeah. Oh, dog walk your ass.
No, that's Jay's now. He said it on TV first.
Fucking piece of shit.
Jay does the dog walking in that family now.
No, Jacob Fatu carried himself. He was fine. The only thing is that they're clearly protecting Jacob Fatu and Roman for something down the road.
They're also clearly setting up Roman Cody 3. And then you got The Rock's part of it.
Unfortunately.
So I think whatever pay-per-view The Rock and Cody faces each other, that's where we'll get Fatu versus Roman. Maybe.
And Fatu's the only one that looked real. Everybody else looked like actors.
Okay. You know, we see different things when it comes to superstars. I'm talking about like
that Roman Jacob Fatu WrestleMania match. It's looking pretty good.
Talking about the larger than life presence. I'm trying to refrain from saying aura.
I don't think you know what an aura is then. If you don't see aura with Jacob Fatu.
You know what aura is?
Yes.
When Roman Reigns came out there with no shirt. That was aura. No homo.
That was very homo.
That's how a star looks. when The Rock came out there with the vest, title, the sunglasses, the people's eyebrow.
The Rock definitely, I hate the guy, but yeah, he definitely has an aura.
I don't know where we're going, but I'm interested to see. Rock. He didn't say anything about being on SmackDown. So.
Oh, he won't be. It'll be a couple months before we see him again.
Yeah, because I think he's like in the middle of a movie, if I recall. He's got a new movie coming out where he's like saving Santa. Add that to the resume, obviously. So yeah, he's got that. Maybe he already finished with that. I don't know. But whenever that's over, he'll be back. Maybe around Royal Rumble.
Well, I look forward to not being interested in that. Done with The Rock.
Good for you. Oh, after the show, we did get some footage that Kevin Owens went up to Cody Rhodes by his bus They exchange some words, and then he attacks Cody Rhodes. So Kevin Owens has officially turned heel. He did it off of camera, which I think is pretty interesting that they did it that way. With the social media world, obviously it's already making its rounds. I don't know. I thought it was a good way to do this because it's different. It's not all the same. And you may not remember, it was last week I said the War Games situation. They're going to try to form a War Games team. Kevin Owens is just not going to do it because he hates Roman that much. It's a storyline that it'll make sense. But now he just flat out turned heel. So actually, I called it. I called it all. Now we'll see if Randy Orton is still on the War Games team.
Does that take away the edge from Randy Orton eventually turning?
But we don't know if he's turning.
I think they're going to do Cody and Randy.
Maybe he doesn't turn.
They just have a match.
Yeah. Well, you know, Triple H will do his face versus face and heel versus heel. You said you watched the Vince doc, right?
I did.
You see how he was so protective of face versus face, heel versus heel, as he decided to turn Sergeant Slaughter so that he can get the title from Bob Backlund to Hulk Hogan. It's a good guy versus a bad guy.
Well, that was Iron Sheik.
Iron Sheik, sorry. Wait.
He turned Slaughter Iraqi, but it was Bob Backlund who lost to Iron Sheik, who lost to Hulk Hogan. You're conflating events.
Why would he turn? Say it again.
Backlund was the champion. Hogan was supposed to be the next guy. They couldn't have Backlund v. Hogan.
So they put it on the Sheik. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Why did I think it was Slaughter? Because it was such a big thing that they turned Slaughter to.
Yeah.
Now we got it.
I just know that I didn't believe a goddamn word anybody said in that documentary. Everybody was full of shit. Dave Meltzer doesn't have any credibility. Vince McMahon was clearly lying and trying to portray himself as something that he isn't. I don't know what he is, but I don't think he's that. I think he's closer to what we saw in the Bob Costas interview.
The one they aired where he's like in his face talking about...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he got in his face and he was very insulting. He actually came back and was a lot more contrite.
Fair enough. But yeah, Kevin Owens is heel now. It does make War Games. He's this version of Big Show.
Yeah.
Big Show turned every other week.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if Randy would have turned, that would have been something. But now Kevin Owens just turned again. He's a heel this month.
Yeah. Probably right after the feud, he'll go back to being a face.
Well, that was Bloodline, or Bad Blood, that featured the Bloodline.
Yes. And The Rock. And Kevin Owens turning heel.
Yes.